The 6 best actors Jack Elam loathed the most. William Scott was Jack Elam's birth name. Jack Elam was born on November 13, 1918 in Miami, Arizona. Elam grew up during the Great Depression and the cultural shifts of the 1920s and 1930s. His early life was full of challenges, but he was strong and determined to get through them. When he was a young boy, he got into a fight with another boy in grade school and lost the sight in his left eye. This changed his life. That mishap, which was sad, would eventually become one of his most famous traits, the squint that made him instantly recognizable on television. He didn't try to hide his lazy eye. Instead, he welcomed it. And over time, it became a part of who he was in Hollywood. Jack Elam had a varied existence before he got into the entertainment business, which showed how adaptable and hardworking he was. He went to Santa Monica Junior College to learn about accounting. After he graduated, he worked as a bookkeeper and auditor for a number of different businesses. Elam was a successful accountant long before he ever stepped in front of a camera. He worked with big firms and even film studios, which gave him his first taste of life in Hollywood. He didn't start acting actively until the late 1940s and early 1950s, when he was in his 30s. His strange appearance, harsh demeanor, and clear eye problem made him stick out, and casting directors quickly saw that Elam could be the perfect bad guy for the gritty westerns and crime dramas of the day. Elam's career took off in the 1950s when he got typecast as one of Hollywood's most famous bad men. He typically played gunfighters, henchmen, and shady outlaws whose scary presence could change the mood of a scene right away. Some of his first and most famous movies are Rawhide Day 1951 and High Noon 1952, two classic westerns in which he established himself as a dependable supporting actor. His rough visage, squinting eye, and gruff voice made him stand out in a way that people would never forget. For a long time, he was the epitome of the western heavy, the kind of outlaw who didn't require an introduction. Just seeing him on film was enough to let them know that catastrophe was coming. Jack Elam was more than just a bad guy. By the 1960s and 1970s, he started to take on more humorous roles, proving Hollywood that he could do more than only play bad guys and killers. He was great at comedies because of his timing, facial gestures, and ability to make light of how scary he looked. In the 1974 satire western Blazing Saddles, directed by Mel Brooks, he played one of his most famous roles. He had a memorable cameo during the movie's climactic fight scene. Elam also acted in comedies like Support Your Local Sheriff 1969 and Support Your Local Gunfighter 1971, where his comedy was just as strong as his threat had been. He was proof that even tough actors could change their style and do well in different genres. Elam's career has included a lot of work on TV. He was in a lot of Western TV shows, such as Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Cheyenne, and Have Gun Will Travel. Later, he was in the hit show Alias Smith and Jones, where he introduced his own style to the Dakotas and Temple Houston. Easy Street, a comedy series from the 1980s, introduced him to younger audiences. He starred with Lonnie Anderson and Julie Harris. He went from being a scary outlaw to a beloved old-timer, which made him a popular across generations. Jack Elam was a kind, funny, and down-to-earth man when he wasn't on television, which is very different from the bad guys he played. Friends and co-stars regularly remembered how funny, nice, and open he was to share anecdotes of Hollywood's golden age. He was known as a consummate professional who could make a set come to life with both his acting and his personality. Jack Elam acted in more than 200 movies and TV shows throughout the course of his long career. He left behind a legacy that few other character actors can match. He was one of the most versatile and well-liked actors of his time because he could scare them as a gunslinger or make them laugh with his comedic timing. Jack Elam's personal life was affected by two important marriages that not only changed his private life but also gave him stability during his frequently turbulent profession in Hollywood. He married Jean Louise Hadriot in 1937, long before Elam became famous as one of Hollywood's most famous character actors. Elam was still a young man trying to figure out where he fit in the world at that time. His marriage to Jean offered him a feeling of purpose and stability. The pair stayed married for almost 25 years, going through good times and bad times together, such the tough times before Elam's acting career took off in the late 1940s and early 1950s. Their marriage lasted for 24 years, which is a remarkable thing in Hollywood, where many marriages terminate because of the stress of celebrity and endless work. Sadly, their time together came to an end when Jean died of colon cancer on January 24, 1961. Elam was heartbroken when she died. He had relied on her for support during his early career and formative years. Elam would always feel the loss of Jean in his personal life, even as he moved on. Elam didn't stay alone for long, even if he was sad. He married Margaret M. Jennison just 7 months after Jean died in August 1961. Some people might have been surprised by how quickly he remarried, but for Elam, who had spent most of his adult life in a committed relationship, having someone to be with was very important to him. Margaret helped him feel better emotionally and was a great partner throughout the peak of his acting career. By the early 1960s, Elam was very popular and appeared in several movies and TV shows. He often played the colorful villains, drunks, and strange characters that made him so popular with fans. Margaret was there for all of it, dealing with the problems that came with being married to a guy whose job needed him to travel a lot and work long hours on set. Jack and Margaret's marriage lasted through both the flashy and quieter times of his career. This is different from the short-lived romances that are common in Hollywood. Did work. Their marriage would survive an amazing 42 years, which shows how strong their love was and how well they constructed their life together. During this time, the couple made a secluded, happy existence for themselves away from the public eye. This was especially true in their later years, when Elam slowed down his job and spent more time at home. Their long-lasting relationship showed not only how much they loved each other, but also how much Jack valued stability after a career full of upheaval. Jack Elam, the actor, played lonely parts on screen, but he was very different from Jack Elam, the man. He loved and cared for Margaret, which was very different from the roles he played. Sadly, Jack's death ended their marriage, not by separation or divorce. Elam died in their home in Ashland, Oregon on October 20th, 2003 after more than 40 years of marriage. He was 82 years old and died of congestive heart failure. His death ended a long and successful life and profession, but it also ended one of the most important parts of his life, his marriage to Margaret. She had been with him through decades of work, victories, and hardships, and together they had established a life based on love, devotion, and strength. Jack Elam's 2 marriages tell a story not only of loss and renewal, but also of how important companionship has been in his life, a theme that is just as powerful as any character he ever performed on television. Jack Elam was a famous Western character actor who was recognized for his unique lazy eye, scary features, and remarkably flexible sense of timing when it came to comedy. He was also a very opinionated man when it came to his fellow actors. Many people remember Elam fondly for his humor and friendly manner off screen, but he was very open about the performers he didn't like, and sometimes he was very harsh. He had personal and professional problems with some of his co-stars and contemporaries during the course of his long career, which lasted more than 5 decades. Here is a detailed look at the 6 performers he is said to have loathed the most. Elam's own sharp comments are in quotes, which provide us a unique view into his private thoughts about his Hollywood contemporaries. One is Gary Cooper. Elam really didn't like Gary Cooper. Even though Cooper was one of the most well-known and admired actors of his day, Elam thought he was too aloof and, in his words, an actor who thought he was better than everyone else on the set. He often told anecdotes of working on westerns when Cooper's aloofness contrasted with the crew's desire to work together. Elam said, "You'd stand there on a dusty set trying to catch a cue, and he'd just glare at you like you were a mosquito buzzing near his ear. Made me want to pitch my hat at him." He didn't like how Cooper treated the supporting players since he thought that his own significance often got in the way of the work of outstanding character actors who were important to making movies memorable. Because Cooper was so famous, few people were brave enough to stand up to him. But Elam, who was never one to hide his feelings, didn't hold back in private interviews. 2. John Wayne. Many Western performers looked up to John Wayne, but Elam had a mixed mix of respect and dislike for him. He knew that Wayne was charming and popular at the box office, but he hated what he thought was Wayne's ego and domineering attitude on set. Elam said that he had a way of looking at you like you had just done something wrong by blinking too slowly. Elam didn't like that Wayne often took over scenes because he thought Wayne's performances didn't always give other performers a chance to shine. Wayne was the perfect Hollywood cowboy for Elam, but he also stood for a strict, even authoritarian way of acting that hindered originality. 3. Marlon Brando. Elam didn't like Marlon Brando since Brando's behavior at the start was often unpredictable and annoying. Brando could come in and change the whole scene just because he wanted to that morning. Elam once observed, "As an experienced actor used to structure and professionalism, I found Brando's improvisational genius infuriating when it messed up the filming." He admired Brando's talent but couldn't stand how undisciplined he was. He said that working with Brando was like walking through a minefield where anything could go wrong at any time. 4. Steve McQueen. Another actor Elam didn't like very much was Steve McQueen, who was considered as the king of cool. He thought McQueen was distant and self-centered, especially when it came to stunts and action scenes. Elam said, "You're supposed to work as a team," but he would insist on doing things his way, like the whole set was there for his big jump or chase scene. It got boring quickly. Even though McQueen was undeniably charming and talented, Elam's dislike increased since he felt that he was always in the background or overshadowed in sequences that needed everyone to work together. 5. Kirk Douglas. Elam didn't like Kirk Douglas for personal reasons more than professional ones. He recognized that Douglas was dedicated to his work, but he often chastised what he saw as Douglas's aggression and unending need to succeed. "That guy may run over an entire crew simply to get a better shot of himself," Elam joked. He thought that Douglas's constant push often crossed the line into ruthlessness, which made things tense and stressful on settings where working together should have been the main goal. 6. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor rounded out the list. She was known for her legendary beauty and charm, but she also had a reputation for being hard to deal with. Elam was really direct. She could make everyone in the room like her, but good luck dealing with her when she wasn't in the mood. You'd think the cameras were out to get you. He found her moody personality and diva-like behavior tiring, and even though he liked her on screen, he thought filming with her was a test of patience and endurance. Jack Elam's list of actors he doesn't like shows a very interesting side of how things work behind the scenes in Hollywood. It shows that even the best actors can make their peers feel quite strongly about them. His comments, which are often honest and colorful, show how celebrity, ego, and working together can be hard in the movie business. Elam's career grew because he could support and improve movies without being in the spotlight. However, his criticisms of these stars show that even a great character actor had his limits when it came to professionalism, personality clashes, and behavior on set. Here,